Ramesh and Meera had lived a long and happy life together. Their home had always been full of love and laughter. When their children were young, the house echoed with small feet running through the hall, and the smell of food always filled the kitchen. Ramesh would play cricket with the children in the backyard, while Meera prepared meals and told stories by the fireplace. Every corner of their home held a memory, and every memory held joy. But life changes with time, and so did their home. One by one, their children moved away to the city. Some went for education, some for work, and a few stayed in places where opportunities were better. Slowly, the house became quiet. The rooms that once sang with laughter now felt empty. The garden, which Meera loved so much, looked lonely without the children running past it. Ramesh spent hours looking through the windows, remembering the days when the yard was alive. Meera noticed the sadness in his eyes and tried to comfort him. She would bring warm tea, sit beside him, and hold his hand. "They are happy, Ramesh," she would say softly. "They are living their lives. That is what we wanted for them." But her words could not erase the feeling of emptiness. Their children called sometimes, but their calls were short and full of hurried words. Ramesh and Meera understood that the children were busy with their lives, and the love they felt now came through screens and short visits. One afternoon, the rain fell quietly over their village. The clouds hung low, and the wind made the old trees sway. Ramesh suggested a walk. Meera put on her shawl, and together they went to the forest near their home. The forest was calm, untouched, and full of life. Birds sang softly, and the smell of wet soil filled the air. Walking among the tall trees, Ramesh felt a little peace enter his heart. Meera held his arm and smiled at the small drops of rain falling on her face. They wandered deeper into the forest than they had ever gone before. Suddenly, they saw a giant tree standing on a small hill. Its trunk was wide, much wider than any tree they had seen. The bark was rough but strong, and the branches stretched toward the sky like open arms. A hollow space at the base of the tree was large enough for a person to step inside. Sunlight fell softly through the leaves, giving the tree a warm and inviting glow. Ramesh ran his hand along the bark. "Meera, this tree is special. It feels alive. Look at its size and strength. Maybe it is waiting for someone to live here." Meera knelt by the hollow and peered inside. The space was empty but safe. She could imagine furniture, a small bed, and a corner for cooking. Her heart felt a mix of excitement and hope. "We could build a home inside," Ramesh said quietly. "A place just for us, where we are together, where no one can disturb us. A home in the forest, hidden from the world, where we can live our days in peace." Meera smiled and placed her hand over his. "It would be our secret. A place full of love and memories. I think it is possible." They sat by the tree for hours, discussing their plan. They imagined the rooms, the kitchen, and a small corner for their books. They decided that this tree would be more than a home, it would be a symbol of their life together, strong and enduring. They also agreed to make it simple and cozy, a place where nature and life blended in harmony. The next few days were filled with careful observation. Ramesh measured the tree, checking its strength, while Meera thought about what they would need to bring. They did not want to disturb the forest or the animals that lived there. They only wanted a small, hidden place where they could be safe and happy. Ramesh found fallen wood from other trees and stones from the river nearby. Meera collected soft moss and leaves to make their home warm. They felt a strange joy in planning this secret life together. Evening after evening, they would walk to the tree, imagining the rooms and corners. Ramesh would sometimes carve tiny signs in the wood, marking spaces for chairs, shelves, or a bed. Meera would decorate the inside with flowers and leaves, making it feel alive. The hollow became more than a tree, it became a canvas for their imagination. Sometimes, they laughed at their own ideas. Meera suggested a small kitchen where the sunlight could fall through the leaves, while Ramesh thought about a reading corner high above the ground, near the branches. They talked about everything they loved, their children, their memories, and the simple joys of life. Every idea made them closer and gave them courage to continue. One night, as they returned home, Ramesh looked at the sky. The stars were bright, and the moon lit their path. We may be alone in the world, Mira, but we have each other. And now we will have the tree too. Our home will be a place of love and peace, hidden from the troubles of life. Mira held his hand tightly. Yes, Ramesh. We will not be forgotten. We will live in a place that belongs to us, just like we dreamed when we were young. That night, they slept with excitement in their hearts. The loneliness of the empty house felt a little lighter. They knew it would take time to build the hidden home, and the work would be hard, but they also knew that together, they could do anything. The giant tree waited silently on the hill, as if it understood their plan. Its branches swayed in the wind, and the hollow seemed to smile at the couple. Ramesh and Mira had found a new beginning. Even though the world had moved on, even though their children were far away, they had found a place where love, hope, and life could continue. The decision was made. The next morning, they would start gathering materials. Every day, they would take one small step, and every step would bring them closer to a hidden home inside the giant tree. A home that would hold their memories, their dreams, and their love. Ramesh and Mira returned home that night with light hearts. They did not feel abandoned anymore. The forest, the giant tree, and their shared plan gave them strength. Their story was not over. It was only beginning, and a new chapter of life awaited them in the heart of the forest. The morning sun rose slowly over the forest, painting the leaves in golden light. Ramesh and Mira woke early, filled with excitement. Today was the day they would begin building their hidden home inside the giant tree. They packed small bags with tools, ropes, and cloth, then walked carefully to the tree on the hill. The forest was quiet, except for the gentle chirping of birds. Ramesh stood in front of the tree and looked at its hollow trunk. This will be our new home, Mira. Step by step, we will make it perfect. Mira smiled, brushing a leaf from her shawl. Yes, Ramesh. Together, we can do anything. They took a deep breath, feeling hope and courage. Their first task was to make the hollow safe. The floor of the tree had some soft soil and fallen leaves. Ramesh gathered strong stones from nearby, and Mira brought moss and sticks to make a soft base. They worked carefully, placing stones to make a stable floor and layering moss on top for comfort. Every movement required patience, but their hearts were full of joy. Next, they began thinking about the walls and roof. The hollow was already tall, but they wanted it to be warmer and protected from rain. Ramesh used old branches and fallen wood to create a small inner wall, while Mira wove leaves and vines to fill the gaps. As they worked, sunlight fell through the tree branches, lighting their small workshop with warmth. Some challenges appeared immediately. Strong winds sometimes shook the tree, making their work difficult. Ramesh held the branches steady, and Mira tied vines to make everything secure. Once, a small bird's nest fell from the branches, and they carefully put it back in place. They realized that living in a tree meant respecting nature and the creatures around them. Days passed, and their home slowly began to take shape. They decided to make a small corner for cooking. Ramesh cleared a flat surface and Mira brought stones to make a small hearth. She hung a tiny pot from a branch to cook simple meals. They were careful to keep the fire small, safe, and controlled. Every evening, the smell of fresh food filled the hollow, and the couple laughed as they shared their meals, feeling proud of their work. They also wanted a place to sleep. Ramesh gathered soft leaves and moss, placing them in a corner of the hollow. Mira added blankets from their old home and small pillows. It was not luxurious, but it was warm, comfortable, and full of love. Every night, they would sit together, looking at the stars through the small opening in the tree, feeling that the world outside no longer mattered. Ramesh had an idea for a small reading area. He climbed a few steps carved into the trunk, reaching a higher platform inside the hollow. There, he placed old books they had kept for years. Mira would sit beside him, reading aloud, while he listened. They rediscovered the joy of stories, poems, and old memories. The tree became more than a home, it became a place of learning, sharing, and laughter. Sometimes, the forest tested their patience. Rain would fall heavily, making the ground slippery. Ramesh would worry that their home might get damaged. Mira would calm him, saying, "The tree is strong, and we are careful. Nothing can harm our home if we take it slowly." They learned to be patient, to plan every step, and to work together. Their love and teamwork made them stronger than the challenges. They also discovered small joys in living close to nature. Early in the morning, birds sang on the branches above. Squirrels would peek through the hollow, curious about the new residents. They found fresh water from a small stream nearby and collected wild fruits. Every day brought a new discovery, and the couple felt alive in ways they had forgotten. As weeks passed, they finished building small shelves, a table, and even a tiny swing hanging from a sturdy branch. Ramesh carved their initials on the wood, a simple mark of their presence. Mira planted tiny flowers around the tree, making it colorful and lively. The hollow was now a beautiful, secret home that blended perfectly with the forest. One evening, as they sat by their small hearth, Mira said, "Ramesh, I feel like we are starting a new life. Our children are far away, but we are happy here." Ramesh nodded. "Yes, Mira. We are safe, and we are together. That is all that matters. We have each other, and now we have our tree home. Nothing can take this away from us." They began to enjoy simple routines. Every morning, Ramesh would gather water and check the tree for safety. Mira would cook meals and tend to the small plants they had brought inside. They shared stories, sang songs, and sometimes just sat quietly, listening to the wind rustle through the branches. Time passed peacefully, and the loneliness that had once felt heavy in their home disappeared. One day, while exploring a small opening in the tree, Ramesh discovered a tiny hidden space behind some roots. It was perfect for keeping their treasures and memories, old photographs, letters from their children, and small gifts they had collected over the years. Mira helped him organize it carefully. Every time they looked at these items, they remembered their life together and smiled. Living in the tree also taught them important lessons. They realized that happiness was not about wealth, status, or attention from others. It came from love, companionship, and respect for life. They felt free from worries about the world outside. They had created a place where their hearts could rest, where they could laugh, cry, and dream together. Neighbors occasionally walked near the forest and wondered about the giant tree. Some saw shadows moving inside and thought it was magical. But Ramesh and Mira never revealed their secret. Their home was private, and that privacy gave them peace. The forest and the tree protected them, just as they protected the tree and nature around them. As months passed, Ramesh and Mira became fully accustomed to their life in the hollow. The forest became their friend. Birds, animals, and even insects seemed to recognize them. The couple realized that this hidden home was not only a shelter but also a new beginning. Every day brought new moments of joy, new discoveries, and new reasons to smile. One quiet evening, as the sun set and painted the forest in orange and pink, Ramesh and Mira sat together on the swing. "Do you remember the first day we saw this tree?" Mira asked. "It felt magical even then." Ramesh held her hand and said, "It still feels magical. This home is ours, built with our hands, our love, and our hope. We created a life here that no one can take away." They looked at the tree, standing strong and silent. It had welcomed them, protected them, and given them a new home. Ramesh and Mira realized that even though the world had changed, even though their children were far away, they had found happiness. Their hidden home was more than a shelter, it was a symbol of courage, love, and life. In the quiet of the forest, they knew that they were no longer abandoned. They had each other, their tree home, and the beauty of nature surrounding them. Their journey had only begun, and the hidden home promised many more days of peace, joy, and togetherness. Life in the hollow tree had grown peaceful and joyful for Ramesh and Mira. Every morning, the sunlight would peek through the leaves, painting patterns on the mossy floor. Birds sang from the branches above, and the forest seemed alive with gentle energy. The couple felt that the forest itself was a friend, guiding them and protecting their secret home. One morning, while Ramesh went to collect water from the stream, Mira explored a narrow path behind the tree. The path was overgrown with bushes and small flowers, but she moved carefully. She discovered a small pond hidden under the branches of another giant tree. The water was clear and calm, reflecting the sky and the surrounding forest. Mira ran back to Ramesh, excited to share her discovery. "Ramesh, come quickly," she said, holding his hand. "You must see the pond. It is beautiful." Ramesh followed her, smiling at her enthusiasm. When he saw the pond, he was amazed. "This is perfect, Mira. We can use it for water, and it will also be a peaceful place to sit and relax." From that day, the pond became a part of their daily routine. They would sit there in the evenings, watching the reflection of the sky and listening to the soft sounds of water. One afternoon, while preparing lunch in the hollow, Ramesh noticed a small door-shaped opening in the back of the tree. It was partly hidden by moss and vines. Curious, he pushed the vines aside. To his surprise, the opening led to a narrow passage inside the tree, deeper than the main hollow. Mira joined him, her eyes wide with wonder. "Ramesh, where do you think this goes?" she asked. He shrugged, a smile on his face. "Only one way to find out. Let us explore, carefully." They lit a small lantern and stepped inside. The passage was tight, but strong roots held the walls steady. As they walked, they found small chambers carved naturally by the tree. Some were empty, and some had soft moss, almost like nature had prepared them for shelter. Mira laughed softly. "It feels like the tree has many secrets, waiting for us to discover." Ramesh nodded. "Yes, Mira. This tree is more than a home. It is alive. It gives us shelter, comfort, and now, even surprises." They decided to leave some areas untouched, respecting the tree's natural design, but carefully prepared one chamber to store food and supplies. Days turned into weeks, and the forest became their world. They noticed small animals watching them from the distance. Squirrels hopped from branch to branch, and deer sometimes came close to the pond. Birds built nests near their hollow, and tiny insects helped keep the forest floor clean. Ramesh and Mira learned to live in harmony with these creatures, sharing the space without disturbing them. One evening, as they sat near the hearth, Ramesh noticed a small light flickering through the branches outside. At first, he thought it was a reflection from the pond, but the light moved closer. Mira held his hand tightly. "Do you see that, Ramesh? Something is coming." They watched carefully, and a small firefly landed on a branch near the hollow. Soon, many fireflies gathered, creating a soft glow around the tree. Mira laughed with delight. "It is beautiful, Ramesh. The forest is celebrating our home." Ramesh smiled. "Yes, Mira. Nature welcomes us. This is a gift we could never have imagined." From that night on, they noticed that the forest seemed more alive than ever. Birds sang louder, flowers bloomed brighter, and even the wind seemed gentle and kind. One morning, Ramesh heard a soft sound outside, like someone was humming. Curious, he stepped out and saw a small fox looking at him. The fox's eyes were bright, and it did not run away. Instead, it sat quietly near the pond. Mira came out to see, and they realized that the fox was not afraid of them. Slowly, they began leaving small fruits and nuts near the pond, and the fox would come every day, becoming a little friend in their forest life. The couple began to notice more hidden treasures in the forest. A small patch of wild berries grew near the tree, sweet and fresh. Mushrooms sprouted after rain, perfect for cooking. They found fallen branches with interesting shapes and polished stones near the stream. Every discovery felt like a gift from nature. The forest seemed to care for them, and they felt gratitude in their hearts. Despite their happiness, Ramesh and Mira never forgot their children. They would sometimes sit together in the evening, looking at old photographs or letters. They shared memories, telling stories of the children's laughter, their first steps, and their school days. These memories brought smiles and tears, but never sadness that could overwhelm them. Their new life in the tree had taught them to treasure every moment. One day, while exploring a part of the forest farther from their tree, Mira found a patch of flowers that glowed faintly in the evening light. She ran back to show Ramesh. "Ramesh, you must see these flowers. They are like small stars on the ground." Ramesh followed her, amazed at the glowing petals. They decided to pick a few carefully and plant them near their hollow. Soon, their home was surrounded by glowing flowers at night, making it magical and inviting. Life in the forest brought other lessons too. They learned the importance of patience, careful observation, and respect for all living things. They became skilled in gathering food, preserving water, and maintaining their home. Ramesh could climb the tree easily, checking the structure and making small repairs, while Meera tended the plants and the small garden they had created near the hollow. One evening, as they sat together watching the fireflies, Meera spoke softly. "Ramesh, I feel like we are part of the forest now. The animals, the birds, even the trees, they all recognize us. We are not just visitors here. This is our world, our home." Ramesh nodded. "Yes, Meera. And this hidden home is more than a shelter. It is a place where we belong, where we are safe and loved. We are together, and that is enough." As weeks passed, they found comfort in small routines. Every morning, they would wake with the sunlight, prepare simple meals, and explore the forest for new surprises. Every evening, they would sit by the pond, watch the fireflies, and reflect on the day. They felt connected not only to each other but also to the life around them. Their home inside the giant tree had become a center of peace, discovery, and happiness. The giant tree stood tall and silent, holding their home in its strong branches. Ramesh and Meera often whispered to it, thanking it for its shelter and protection. They realized that even though the world outside had changed, they had found a life full of beauty and meaning. The tree was no longer just a place to hide. It was a friend, a protector, and a part of their lives. One quiet morning, a gentle breeze blew through the branches. Ramesh and Meera stood together, holding hands, feeling the rhythm of the forest. They smiled at each other. The forest had given them new experiences, new friends, and a home full of love. Their hearts were full, and their spirits were light. They knew that the forest, the giant tree, and their hidden home would continue to give them happiness for many years to come. And in that peaceful moment, Ramesh whispered, "Meera, we have discovered a world that belongs to us. We are not forgotten. We are alive, and we are together." Meera leaned on his shoulder, her heart warm. "Yes, Ramesh. Our home is here, hidden but strong. Our life continues, full of love and joy." The forest listened silently, holding their words in the rustling leaves. The hidden home in the giant tree had become a place of wonder, safety, and endless discovery. Ramesh and Meera had not only built a home, but they had found a new life full of magic, peace, and happiness. Ramesh and Meera had settled comfortably in their hidden home inside the giant tree. Life had become peaceful and full of small joys. The forest had become their friend, and every day brought new discoveries. Yet, the forest could be unpredictable, and even in such a perfect place, challenges would arise. One morning, Ramesh noticed dark clouds gathering over the forest. The wind picked up, shaking the branches and rustling the leaves loudly. Meera, who was arranging their small flower garden, looked up nervously. "Ramesh, the weather is changing quickly. It looks like a storm is coming." Ramesh nodded, already thinking about protecting their home. "We need to secure the hollow and gather supplies. The tree is strong, but we must be careful." They worked together quickly. Ramesh reinforced the walls with extra branches and tied loose vines tightly. Meera moved their supplies, food, and small furniture closer to the center of the hollow, away from the entrance. They hung moss over openings to prevent wind and rain from entering. Their experience in the forest helped them act calmly and efficiently. By afternoon, the storm arrived. Rain fell heavily, and the wind shook the tree as if testing its strength. Ramesh and Meera stayed inside the hollow, holding hands and listening to the sound of rain on the branches. It was loud, almost frightening, but they felt safe together. "The tree is protecting us, Meera. It is strong and alive," Ramesh said. Meera smiled, feeling comforted. "Yes, Ramesh. We are safe because we are prepared and together." After the storm passed, they stepped outside to see the forest. Many branches had fallen, and the ground was covered with leaves and debris. Yet, the giant tree stood tall, unbroken, its hollow still dry and safe. Ramesh and Meera felt a mix of relief and pride. They realized that even strong storms could not destroy what they had built together. A few days later, while exploring the forest, Ramesh noticed strange footprints near the hollow. They were larger than any animal they had seen before, and they seemed to circle the tree. Meera looked closely. Ramesh, it might be a wild animal. We should be careful. Ramesh nodded. Yes, Meera. But the tree is strong. We will be safe if we stay inside and watch quietly. That night, they kept the lantern lit and listened carefully. Sounds of distant rustling reached them, and sometimes, low growls could be heard far away. Meera held Ramesh's hand tightly. Do you think it will come near? She asked softly. Ramesh smiled gently. If it does, we will stay calm. The tree protects us, and we respect the forest. That is enough. The next morning, they saw a shadow moving near the pond. A large deer appeared, and the footprints matched none of the animals. To their surprise, the deer did not attack or run. It approached the water, drank carefully, and then disappeared into the forest. Ramesh and Meera realized that the forest held many mysteries, and they needed patience and respect to live in harmony with it. One afternoon, Meera tripped over a hidden root while collecting wild berries. She fell and scraped her hand on a small rock. Ramesh rushed to help her, gently cleaning the wound with water from the stream. I am okay, Ramesh, Meera said with a smile, despite the pain. But we must be more careful. The forest is beautiful, but it can be tricky. Ramesh nodded. Yes, Meera. We will watch each other and the path carefully. They learned that living close to nature required awareness and caution. Despite challenges, their home continued to grow stronger. They built a small platform near the top of the hollow to watch the forest from above. From there, they could see the pond, the glowing flowers, and the paths they had explored. This lookout became a favorite spot for them, where they could sit together and enjoy the beauty of their hidden world. One day, while exploring a farther part of the forest, Ramesh and Meera found a small cave near a hill. The entrance was covered with vines and moss. Inside, they discovered crystals and stones shining faintly in the sunlight. Meera gasped. Ramesh, this is magical. The forest keeps giving us treasures. Ramesh smiled. Yes, Meera. We must take only what we need and leave the rest. The forest is generous, but we must respect it. They carefully collected a few crystals to decorate their hollow and left the rest untouched. Life continued with small adventures and careful routines. Ramesh would gather firewood, check the structure of the hollow, and ensure everything was secure. Meera tended to the small garden, prepared meals, and explored new paths. They shared stories, laughed at small surprises, and admired the beauty of the forest. Every challenge made them stronger. Every discovery made them happier. One evening, as they sat near the pond watching fireflies, they heard a soft sound of crying. Meera looked around and saw a small fawn stuck between two rocks. It trembled with fear. Ramesh quickly moved carefully, lifting the rocks just enough for the fawn to escape. Meera comforted it, speaking softly, while the fawn slowly walked back into the forest. Ramesh, we helped it, Meera said with relief. This forest may challenge us, but we can also protect it. Ramesh nodded. Yes, Meera. We are part of this forest now, and it is part of us. We learn, we grow, and we care. The couple faced another challenge when a strong windstorm uprooted small trees near the hollow. A branch fell dangerously close to the entrance. Ramesh and Meera worked together, lifting it and securing it with ropes. Their teamwork and patience helped them overcome each obstacle. They realized that courage did not mean fearlessness. It meant facing problems calmly and finding solutions together. Evenings became their favorite time of day. They would sit on the swing near the hollow, drink warm tea, and watch the sun set behind the forest. Sometimes, the forest seemed magical, with glowing flowers, fireflies, and soft animal sounds. Other times, it seemed mysterious and challenging. But in every moment, Ramesh and Meera felt grateful for their hidden home and the life they had built together. One night, as they lay on their soft moss bed, Meera whispered, "Ramesh, we faced storms, strange animals, and even accidents. But we are still here, safe and happy." Ramesh smiled, holding her hand. "Yes, Meera. Our courage, patience, and love brought us here. Nothing can shake us if we are together." They fell asleep under the gentle sway of the tree, feeling protected and strong. The giant tree stood silently, holding their home through storms and challenges. It had become more than a shelter, it was a symbol of strength, courage, and love. Ramesh and Meera realized that life in the forest was not just about hiding or escaping. It was about learning, growing, and facing challenges with grace. The forest had taught them lessons that no house or city could ever provide. It had taught them patience, respect, courage, and the importance of love and togetherness. Every challenge they faced had made them wiser, stronger, and more connected to nature and each other. Ramesh and Meera understood that life could be unpredictable, even in a place as perfect as their hidden home. But with courage, care, and teamwork, they could overcome anything. The giant tree had given them a home, and they had given it love, respect, and care in return. And so, even in the face of storms, strange animals, and small accidents, Ramesh and Meera thrived. Their courage and bond strengthened every day, and the hidden home inside the giant tree became a sanctuary of safety, joy, and love. They knew that as long as they were together, there was nothing to fear, and every challenge was an opportunity to grow. Seasons passed quietly in the forest. The leaves changed colors, the air grew cool, and then warm again. Ramesh and Meera continued their peaceful life inside the giant tree. Their hidden home had become strong, warm, and full of gentle beauty. Every corner carried their care. Every branch felt like a guardian. They had grown wiser with time. Ramesh's hair turned more silver, and Meera's smile became softer, but their hearts remained bright. Each morning, they woke with the sun, shared warm tea, and stepped outside to greet the forest. Birds still sang for them. The fox still visited the pond. The glowing flowers still lit the night. One day, while Ramesh was repairing a small wooden step, Meera noticed smoke rising far away near the edge of the forest. "Ramesh," she said gently, "someone is nearby." Ramesh paused and looked in that direction. For many months, no human had come close. Their hidden home had remained a secret. Later that afternoon, they heard voices carried by the wind. Careful footsteps approached. Ramesh and Meera stood quietly inside the hollow, watching through a narrow opening. Two travelers appeared on the path. They were tired and confused, searching for shelter. The travelers saw the giant tree and stopped. One of them whispered, "This tree feels special." As they stepped closer, they noticed the small garden, the carved steps, and the soft glow from inside. Their eyes widened in wonder. Ramesh and Meera exchanged a glance. They had lived hidden for a long time, but fear did not rise in their hearts. Instead, a calm courage filled them. Ramesh stepped forward slowly. Meera stood beside him. The travelers were shocked at first, but their surprise quickly turned into respect. They listened as Ramesh explained how he and Meera had built their home with care and patience. Meera offered them water from the pond and warm food from their hearth. The travelers thanked them with deep respect. "We have never seen a home like this," one said. "You live with nature, not against it." Word began to spread slowly. The travelers told others about the elderly couple who lived inside a giant tree. Some people came quietly to see the place. They did not disturb the forest. They only watched from a distance, amazed by the harmony between humans and nature. Ramesh and Meera welcomed visitors kindly but gently. They did not want crowds or noise. They shared their simple wisdom. "Live with respect," Meera would say. "Take only what you need." Ramesh added, "Build with patience. Care for the world, and it will care for you." One afternoon, a familiar voice called from the forest path. "Father! Mother!" Ramesh froze. Meera's hands trembled. They stepped forward slowly and saw their son standing there, older and tired, holding a small bag. Tears filled his eyes. I heard stories about a couple living in a tree. I did not believe it. Then I realized it had to be you. Soon, their daughter appeared behind him. She had traveled far after hearing the same story. Both children stood in silence, looking at the home their parents had built with their own hands. Mira's eyes filled with tears, but her face held no anger, only warmth. Ramesh opened his arms. The children stepped forward and embraced them. "We were busy," the son said softly. "We forgot what truly matters. We thought success meant distance," the daughter added. "But this home shows us what real life looks like." Ramesh placed a hand on their shoulders. "We never stopped loving you," he said. "We only learned to live with what we had." Mira guided them inside the hollow. The children saw the soft bed, the small hearth, the books, the glowing flowers outside the window of leaves. They felt peace in a way they had never felt before. That night, they sat together near the pond. Fireflies danced in the air. The forest breathed calmly around them. The children listened as Ramesh and Mira shared their journey. "We were lonely," Mira said. "But we chose not to break. We chose to build. And this tree became our teacher," Ramesh said. "It taught us patience and strength." The children stayed for several days. They helped repair small parts of the home, cleaned paths, and planted new flowers. They learned how to listen to the forest, how to move quietly, and how to live simply. Before leaving, the son said, "We will not take you away from this place. We understand now. But we will visit, often." The daughter smiled through tears. "This home belongs to your hearts. And now, it belongs to our memories too." After they left, Ramesh and Mira stood together, watching the forest path. Their hearts felt full. Not because their children had returned, but because understanding had grown between them. Days passed peacefully again. Visitors became fewer. The forest returned to its gentle rhythm. Ramesh and Mira continued their simple routines. They began teaching small groups who came with respect. They taught how to build without harm, how to collect without waste, how to live without fear. Their hidden home became a symbol of harmony. Years later, when their steps became slower, Ramesh and Mira still sat every evening on their swing. They watched the sunset and whispered thanks to the tree. "We were never truly abandoned," Mira said one evening. Ramesh nodded. "We were only guided to a different path." The giant tree stood tall, carrying their story within its rings. Birds nested in its branches. Flowers bloomed around its roots. The forest remembered them. Ramesh and Mira had built more than a home. They had built a message. A message that said life does not end with loneliness. It transforms. That love does not disappear. It grows in new places. That even when the world moves on, the heart can still find peace. Their hidden home inside a giant tree became a quiet legend. Not about escape, but about courage. Not about loss, but about creation. Not about abandonment, but about choosing life. And in the heart of the forest, beneath wide branches and glowing leaves, two gentle souls continued to live, reminding the world that even the smallest hands can build something beautiful, lasting, and full of hope.